Have you ever stopped to think that some miracles in the Bible might hide truths that almost no one dares to discuss? Today, we're going to talk about the miracle of Aaron's rod that blossomed, but not the way you learned in Sunday school or church. Stay with me, because what you're about to discover could completely change the way you see faith, power, and even fear. Imagine the Israelites, exhausted, hungry, and terrified, wandering through the desert after decades of slavery. In this setting, leadership wasn't just a matter of authority, it was a matter of survival. And then God does something that defies all logic. Aaron's rod blooms out of nowhere, producing fruit right before everyone's eyes. But why bloom? What is the real meaning behind this act? Here's the first hook. Did you know this miracle wasn't just to show who the leader was, but also to test the faith of every person present? Imagine the tension, the suspicious glances, the silent envy, and the knowledge that questioning could be dangerous. Now think about this. A simple rod, dry wood, defying nature, blooming and bearing fruit. Those who witnessed it were fascinated but also terrified. And this is exactly the contrast most commentators never talk about. Here's the second hook. The miracle sparked not just admiration, but fear. The Bible shows a power that no one could ignore. Have you ever wondered how fear and faith walk side by side? Every flower that appeared was a silent message, and every fruit, a reminder that divine authority cannot be challenged. But there's more. The choice of fruit, the almond, was not random. Some scholars say it symbolizes vigilance and promise. Others argue it represents life born from the impossible. Here's the third hook. What if this miracle wasn't only for men, but also a demonstration against forces lurking behind humanity, against everything that threatens the divine plan? Every detail of the blossoming rod carries layers of meaning that few dare to explore. Can you imagine the psychological impact? The envy among leaders, the fear of the people, the obligation to recognize something impossible to question. And if we go further, here's the fourth hook. Could miracles like this have been created not only to inspire faith, but to manipulate, test, and even intimidate those who cannot comprehend divine power? The rod is not just a symbol of approval, it's a warning. The divine can act unpredictably and absolutely. And there's an even darker dimension. The story confronts us with a chilling question. Can genuine faith survive when faced with authority and power that intimidates? Is obedience born of fear as pure as the obedience that comes from love or belief? Here's the fifth hook. Every witness to this miracle faced a silent decision, to doubt and risk everything, or to accept and obey. Aaron's rod that blossomed, therefore, is not just history. It's a study of power, psychology, and social control. And if you think this is just symbolic, consider the real consequences. The Bible doesn't describe rebellions at that moment, but we can imagine suspicious looks, murmurs of resentment, and perhaps genuine fear of what would happen if someone dared to question. And if the rod could speak, it might tell stories of envy, rivalry, and how absolute power can turn even miracles into silent weapons. Here's the sixth hook. What if this miracle also hid a message about the responsibility that comes with power? That only the chosen can handle the divine without being destroyed. And more. Did you know events like this were made public for a reason? To show that God could invert logic, bend reality, and select who had the right to lead was also a way to teach a lesson about obedience and order. But there's something few discuss. The miracle of Aaron's rod is not just an act of beauty or approval. It's an act of confrontation. A direct confrontation between faith, fear, power, and envy. And here's the seventh hook. The rod blooming in front of everyone is like the divine itself saying, "Do not question what you cannot understand, and recognize whom I have chosen." Think about the psychological impact of that. Now imagine the hidden message. Miracles are not just blessings. They carry intentions, provoke reflection, and often scare even the most faithful. Every flower, every fruit, is a coded lesson about life, death, power, and choice. And if you're feeling chills imagining the rod blooming in front of everyone, that's exactly the effect this biblical text still produces. Fascination, fear, and curiosity at the same time. Here's the eighth and final hook. The Bible is full of signs that operate on this level, but few are explained in detail. This makes you wonder, how many other miracles have deeper, darker meanings waiting to be uncovered? And that's exactly why you're here, watching this video, to question, reflect, and dive into stories most people prefer to ignore. So, if you want to uncover more Bible secrets, understand the hidden side of miracles, and discover truths that few discuss, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on the notification bell. Here, we explore what lies beyond the obvious, revealing stories that will challenge your faith, awaken your critical thinking, and show the darker side of sacred history.